Welcome to High Heels and Hidden Truths. I'm Vanessa Murphy, investigative reporter at KLAS TV in Las Vegas. We are going to take a look at the trial of Nathan Chasing Horse. Here you go.
He stretches out his legs on the bed and he tells me to get on the bed next to him.
And inside this phone was a over 9 minute video of an adult male having sex with a young girl.
This case is actually a very simple case, and you've seen all the evidence on that witness stand that will lead you to the conclusion you should find Mr. Chasing Horse not guilty.
Guilty of sexual assault with a minor under 16 years of age.
So you can see there and hear there how sensitive this topic is. And in this episode, it will continue to be sensitive and graphic. So just a quick warning for our viewers. Now, Nathan Chasing Horse, police arrested him at his North Las Vegas home in January of 2023. Here we are in early 2026. That's how long it took for this trial to happen. Initially, Chasing Horse had a bulldog public defender who, in part, won a victory at the Nevada Supreme Court. Prosecutors had more work to do to bring a case back to the grand jury. The grand jury indicted Chasing Horse on 21 counts related to the alleged sexual abuse against 3 individuals, 2 of them when they were underage. Behind the scenes, as soon as I covered Chasing Horse's arrest, I heard from so many individuals throughout the United States and Canada sharing similar stories with me of manipulation, sexual abuse, and more. I want to go to the opening statements in this trial. Take a look.
They found images of a young girl's vagina, and then they searched his house. And in the nightstand drawer next to his bed was this phone. And inside this phone was a over 9 minute video of an adult male having sex with a young girl.
This isn't some sex cult. This isn't some bizarre pedophile at large running around. This is a aggrieved wife, 106, who's mad at her husband, who then files false allegations and comes forward.
Now, the first individual there, the woman, prosecutor Bianca Pucci, she worked this case with prosecutor William Rolls. Then you heard from Chasing Horse's defense attorney. He left his public defender and then worked with defense attorney Craig Mueller. Now, in these types of cases, sexual assault, sexual abuse, unfortunately, the defense attorney's job is to poke holes in witness testimony. So there were uncomfortable moments when the victims shared their stories on the stand and during cross-examination with Craig Mueller. So again, it was uncomfortable. Oftentimes, this is why victims and survivors of sexual abuse do not come forward, because they do not want to go through all of that. Now, as far as this case in Las Vegas, Corinna Leone LaCroix helped bust this case open, formerly Corinna Chasing Horse, meeting him as a child and then sharing her story of sexual assault the first time when she was 14 years old, talking about the grooming that Nathan Chasing Horse did. Many individuals sharing these similar stories. Chasing Horse, leader of The Circle, those were his followers, a medicine man. Corinna believed that she was saving her sick mother by allowing Chasing Horse to have sex with her as a child, as a young 16. Karenna eventually left him in her 20s, and she made a social media post sharing her story that Las Vegas police recognized, and that busted this case open. And then individuals who shared their stories throughout the U.S. and Canada previously, and perhaps law enforcement agencies years ago told them they didn't have enough evidence to bring charges against him. But it was Karenna's voice, again, that helped bust this case open. And she had another difficult challenge ahead. She had to take the stand. Here's a brief clip.
I had asked him why, and he had said that it was the last good thing about me, the last pure thing about me.
Not easy for her to take the stand. Her mother also took the stand. Karenna was one of the 3 victims in this case. I want you to hear from the next one.
He got on top of me. He held my wrist down like this. And he laid his whole body weight on top of me, pinning me down.
It was difficult to hear both of their testimony giving graphic descriptions of how Chasing Horse sexually abused them. And then the 3rd victim previously did not cooperate with law enforcement. She testified she was afraid. And she was the child in a disturbing and graphic video that was played for the jury. I saw less than a couple of minutes of that when prosecutors initially played it. It was very upsetting. It was Chasing Horse recording himself sexually abusing a child. It's something you cannot unsee. And later on, prosecutors played the entire video, nearly 10 minutes. Again, this individual did not initially cooperate with law enforcement. During this trial, she shows up to testify. She is known as S. Doe. She did not want to be identified, but here's what she had to say.
This was a sacred secret between me, him, and the Creator, and that they were using his body as a vessel, and that I was really giving myself to the spirits and to the Creator.
S. Doe testified she was 12 or 13 in that video. She was a child. Let's take a break. Welcome back to High Heels and Hidden Truths. I'm Vanessa Murphy. We are continuing to take a look at the Nathan Chasing Horse trial, which happened in January 2026, 3 years after he was arrested. Now, you heard from the 3 victims in this case as they took the stand, one of them not wanting to be identified, S. Doe. She was the child in that video as Chasing Horse sexually abused her. Now, throughout this trial, we didn't see a lot of reaction from Chasing Horse. At least I didn't. I was in the courtroom for most of it. I did see him frequently lean over to his defense team as witnesses took the stand. You heard from the victims. You heard from 2 of their mothers. You heard from different individuals from law enforcement describing what was found in this case, the evidence. One of the things that prosecutors really stressed was that the evidence in a case like this can be witness testimony. We often hear about sexual abuse and sexual assault cases, and people point to maybe a lack of DNA. Is there DNA? Is there video? But one of the points that prosecutor William Rolls made is when is there a video of sexual assault? And oftentimes, victims and survivors come forward months or years after they were victimized. So in that case, how is there going to be DNA? Now, if you're the defense attorney, you want to show the jury there's no video, there's no DNA. You want to, again, poke holes in witness testimony, perhaps poke holes in the case brought by police and prosecutors. So we certainly saw that happen. The defense, in my opinion, really had an uphill battle here because the evidence, the witness testimony just kept piling up. And then you consider that horrible video that the jury saw, that horrible video of Chasing Horse sexually abusing a child. Let's go to closing statements.
For almost 20 years, this man, the defendant, Nathan Chasing Horse, spun a web of abuse. That web of abuse caught many people in it.
We don't need to spend 2.5 or 3 hours explaining a 15-year archive of hurt feelings to get to the truth of this case. I told you with a straight face, after reading everything and preparing this case, that it wasn't a criminal case. It was a divorce case.
Now, defense attorney Craig Mueller, again, as you heard there, kept saying he believed this was a divorce case and not a criminal case, meaning he was trying to say that perhaps Corinna Chasing Horse, after he claimed she was cut off financially, now Corinna Leone LaCroix, that she perhaps created this and, was a bitter ex-wife. But here's the thing. Corinna Leone LaCroix is not the only individual in this case. Her story has remained the same. Her story is similar to the other individuals in that Chasing Horse used his power as a medicine man in the indigenous culture and scared people, saying, if you tell anyone I did this, something will happen to you. Something bad will happen to you. Corinna also showed her tattoos of a spider, and prosecutors were saying, look, this is sort of a brand for his women. There was just so much brainwashing going on. And for the most part, the jury saw that. And here's the verdict.
District Court, Clark County, Nevada, the State of Nevada plaintiff versus Nathan Chasing Horse defendant. Case C-24-387-035-1, Department 8. Verdict. We, the jury, in the above entitled case, find the defendant, Nathan Chasing Horse, as follows. Count 1. Sexual assault with a minor under 16 years of age, CCH. Guilty of sexual assault with a minor under 16 years of age. Count 2. Sexual assault with a minor under 16 years of age, CCH. Guilty of sexual assault with a minor under 16 years of age. Count 3. Sexual assault with a minor under 16 years of age, CCH. Guilty of sexual assault with a minor under 16 years of age. Count 4. First degree kidnapping of a minor, CCH. Not guilty. Count 5. Sexual assault with a minor under 16 years of age, CCH. Guilty of sexual assault with a minor under 16 years of age. Count 6. Sexual assault with a minor under 16 years of age, CCH. Guilty of sexual assault with a minor under 16 years of age. Count 7. Sexual assault with a minor under 16 years of age, CCH. Guilty of sexual assault with a minor under 16 years of age. Count 8. Sexual assault with a minor under 16 years of age, CCH. Guilty of sexual assault with a minor under 16 years of age. Count 9. Open or gross lewdness, CCH. Guilty of open or gross lewdness. Count 10. Sexual assault with a minor under 16 years of age, CCH, guilty of sexual assault with a minor under 16 years of age. Count 11, sexual assault with a minor under 16 years of age, CCH, guilty of sexual assault with a minor under 16 years of age. Count 12, sexual assault with a minor under 16 years of age, CCH, guilty of sexual assault with a minor under 16 years of age. Count 13, sexual assault, CCH, not guilty. Count 14, sexual assault, CCH, not guilty. Count 15, sexual assault, CCH, not guilty. Count 16, sexual assault, CCH, not guilty. Count 17, sexual assault, CCH, not guilty. Count 18, sexual assault, SB, guilty of sexual assault. Count 19, use of a minor under the age of 14 in producing pornography, SCH. Before determining whether the defendant is guilty or not guilty, you must first determine if the crime was committed in a secret manner and filed within 3 years of the discovery of the offense. Committed in a secret manner and filed within 3 years of the discovery of the offense. If you find that the defendant did commit the crime in a secret manner and that the crime was filed within 3 years after the discovery of the offense, you must then determine whether the defendant is guilty or not guilty of the crime. Not guilty. Count 20. Possession of visual presentation depicting sexual conduct of a child. Guilty of possession of visual presentation depicting sexual conduct of a child. Count 21. Possession of visual presentation depicting sexual conduct of a child. Not guilty. Dated this 30th day of January 2026 by the foreperson.
Guilty of 13 out of 21 counts. You heard initials as those charges were read. CCH, that is Corinna Chasing Horse, now Corinna Leonie LaCroix. SB, Sierra Begay. And S-Doe, she does not want to be named. So the jury believed that Chasing Horse committed sex crimes against all 3 victims, survivors in this case. I was in the courtroom as the verdict was read. There were many tears. Corinna was in the courtroom, her mother, Sierra, her mother. It was emotional. One thing I do want to note is that we've heard about the circle, Chasing Horse's following. Throughout this trial, he did not have many supporters in the courtroom. He did not. I want to go to a portion where we talked to defense attorney Craig Mueller after the verdict. Take a look.
We've got a whole series of motions for a new trial, motion for inconsistent verdicts, which, as you know, there are some inconsistent verdicts.
You showed a quote, "Hell hath no fury like a woman scorned." Mm-hmm. Do you regret that with a jury made up of mostly women?
No, I don't. It's not my quote. It's been around for a couple thousand years, and sometimes women can be vindictive. That's just, some people can be vindictive. That's just the way it is.
Men can be too.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing, but I didn't make up the quote. That just seemed to fit the circumstances.
What was his reaction after the verdict? Are you able to talk to us about that?
Very placid, and he's actually a very spiritual guy.
So Craig Mueller, I have to say, throughout this trial, he answered our questions. And even when prosecutors and Mueller might battle it out in the courtroom, right? The atmosphere between them was respectful. Prosecutors doing their job, Mueller doing his job. Again, guilty of 13 out of 21 counts. Mueller says they will appeal. He does not believe that Chasing Horse received a fair trial. I do want to note, since that verdict, I contacted Las Vegas Metro Police, which runs the jail here. I asked if Chasing Horse would do an on-camera interview with me. It's not the first time I've asked. We want to get his side of the story. He declined. He said no. So for now, we will not hear from him directly. The jury, I thought it was important to ask him about that quote, "Hell hath no fury." The jury was mostly women. So that was an interesting strategy, and I wanted to ask Craig about that. You heard his answer. And then one of my colleagues spoke with one of the jurors shortly after the verdict. Here's what she had to say.
That video played in my head over and over and over because you can't undo what you see. And I go home and I'm playing and I can't talk. So that, I gotta say, between that video, when we see the 9 minutes up until talking, I struggled. I have to be real about that, but I struggled by myself. And then once we were able to talk, I think we all just kind of vomited a little bit of that. Like, oh my God, where do you stand with that? And everybody had a problem with it. It was hard. It's hard to watch innocence of a child with a grown adult that knows what he's doing, to do that to a child. It was hard. But it's out there, and it's unfortunate we had to see it, but you know what? You have to see everything to make the final result.
And the juror referring to that damning piece of evidence, that video of Chasing Horse sexually abusing a child. And what she's also referring to is the judge tells them throughout the trial, do not look at media reports, don't check the news, don't talk to your family about this. So they have to go, they have to listen to testimony, they have to see the evidence, and then they have to go home and be quiet, right? And what she's saying is finally, when the jury could discuss this after the closing statements to go through those counts and charges, it was almost like a sigh of relief that they could talk about that horrible video that they saw. I also think it's really important to talk about. Right, it was 21 counts. The jury convicted him of 13. So it's not like they threw the book at him. They really carefully went through the charges and came up with that verdict. Let's take a break. Welcome back to High Heels and Hidden Truths. I'm Vanessa Murphy. We have been taking a look at the trial of Nathan Chasing Horse. What's next? Well, he has to be sentenced. The judge has to sentence him. Technically, he could spend the rest of his life in prison. Only even one count carries more than 20 to life, right? So again, he could spend the rest of his life in prison. He also still has warrants, as far as I know, in Montana and Canada. Some cases were reopened after this Las Vegas case made headlines. And I think it's really important to note again how over the past 2 decades, underage girls and women came forward to report his abuse, and he was not formally charged because in some cases law enforcement pointed to a lack of evidence. There was even a failure here at the North Las Vegas Police Department when one of the victims initially reported a sexual assault, and then her case was reopened. So I think it's just really important to note that. And, Prosecutor William Rolls said that he hopes this encourages victims and survivors to speak up, and in many cases, their voice is enough. So I know this was a moment many people were waiting for. They were waiting for this justice. And again, I've heard from so many people who have reached out to say that Chasing Horse victimized them, some of them reconsidering going back to police to report that abuse. I know it takes a lot to go to the police and report something like this. I know it takes a lot to reach out to a reporter and develop trust. So I just want to thank the individuals who have had that courage and who have reached out to me. Also, throughout the trial, prosecutors talked about the indigenous culture, and I have been trying to be respectful and learn more. In many cases, I had to text individuals I've met since Chasing Horse's arrest to ask questions, and they have gracefully helped me and answered my questions because, again, I just want to be respectful to the culture and to the individuals who have reached out to me. So again, Nathan Chasing Horse, guilty of 13 out of 21 counts. Many people consider this justice served, but they say the fight isn't over. Thanks for watching.